Welcome back to the channel, new friends, for story time with Safe. Let's get started with today's story, which is called Struggling with the Fact That My Friends Are Close with My Abusive Ex. Hi, I'm very new to this and only made an account to get advice on the topic. My ex-girlfriend and I were together in 2017, and during this time, we always got along well, and there was a lot of love and affection. However, she became very jealous and insecure about a friendship I had with one of my oldest friends, who is a female, and we would often argue. She wanted me to cut ties with this girl, but I contended she was a close friend and that I'd known her even longer than I'd known my girlfriend. Plus, our relationship was purely platonic. Eventually, we broke up at the beginning of 2018. She no longer had feelings for me, and while this killed me at the time, I got over it. We only lived 2 minutes away from each other and were in the same classes at school, so it became a priority to stay friends given how much time we would be spending together. We ended up getting along really well for a time as friends, although we often still would have sex as a casual thing, which in hindsight really didn't help much. She started hooking up with other guys, which was weird at first, but I understood. We were broken up and let her do her thing. However, she was getting very anxious and protective over me, not wanting me to move on with other girls. She went through periods where she would say she still wanted to be with me and had feelings for me, and while I believed I could be the same, I just didn't trust anything to last given how abruptly she lost her feelings for me during our breakup, and I didn't want to go through that again. Anyway, this is where it gets much more tricky. We both graduated now and are both taking gap years, but still see each other fairly often and are still close. When we get along, it's great. But she started to get extremely upset about things very quickly at me, and starting to get violent. She snaps at me for mumbling when I can tell she's moody, and I get nervous, and once this mumbling angered her so much that she slapped me across the face. Another time, when walking her home from a party, she asked me if I spoke to my friend, the girl from earlier who she was insecure about. And when I said, yeah, briefly, she laid into me, hitting me, kicking me, and then ripping my shirt all the way down my back. On another occasion, she saw me receive a text from a different girl and proceeded to bite me and throw all my belongings on my shelf to the ground before putting a large dent in my bedroom wall from slamming the door into it. These outbursts have become more and more frequent over the most tiny things, and I honestly can't deal with it. But when we get along, I so much love her and enjoy every second of it. And I can tell she loves me as well when she apologizes and cries about how she mistreats me. Recently, she's gone through a really rough patch in which she often speaks about deleting herself, and I've done everything I can to be there for her, but I feel she started using it as a weapon. Because when she gets upset at me, she says, I'm gonna delete myself and it's your fault, and I'm gonna leave a note so everyone thinks you made me do this, over minor things like me getting distracted while she tells me a story, or if I get a text from a girl. Along with this, she's not willing to make sacrifices for me like I do for her. And on the rare occasions that I'm upset or need her to be there for me, she's clearly annoyed by the inconvenience and finds plenty of excuses to get out of being there for me. I've answered countless 3 a.m. phone calls to comfort her crying, but when I was in a dark place, she wouldn't answer a phone call at maybe 9:30 at night because she had work in the morning. I don't know, this probably all just comes across as petty complaints. I'm just kind of writing this in an emotional state. I understand that this sort of thing is abusive and I want no part in it, but I honestly care so much about her and her well-being and love her unconditionally. I worry about her safety if I cut ties with her, and I don't think I'm emotionally prepared to commit to a life without her either. Furthermore, since we live so close together and have the same friendship group, it's impossible for me to ghost her and avoid her completely without compromising my social life. I want to be rid of the toxic relationship, but I don't know how I can be if we're going to be around each other so much anyway. And if she gets even more in a dark place as a result, I'd feel accountable for her sadness, and I don't know if I'd be able to get past that kind of guilt. During this time, due to another incident of violence towards one of her close friends, her circle of female friends completely cut her out. She was left with me as her only support network, and it was extremely emotionally taxing. I would often bear the brunt of her upset, In a last-ditch effort to help her, I introduced her to a circle of my own friends, including my best mate's partner. My best mate knew that she had been abusive to me in the past, but I hadn't mentioned to him that it was still happening because I wanted them to embrace her, so she had some friends. They hit it off, and now my mate's partner and my ex are extremely close, as well as a few of the other girls from that group. Started this year, after finally accepting I didn't want to be with her romantically, she ventured elsewhere and is now in a relationship, which I'm happy for her. However, the second this happened, I literally didn't hear a word from her. She just disappeared from my life immediately, and I've been left feeling like I copped everything I did for nothing. I've more or less come to terms with that, but I'm really starting to struggle with her being so close with my friends after ghosting me. I've since told my best mate that the abuse had actually continued up until the new guy came around, but he's very much adopted "there's a two sides to every story" approach to it. I mean, I guess that's fair, but it seriously still bothers me. I tell him about an incident where I genuinely feared for my life with her and thought he would be empathetic, but then still goes and socializes with her and says she's a great friend for his partner. Meanwhile, I no longer see his partner as a friend of mine, but of hers, and I feel seriously uncomfortable in that group. I don't know what to do. I feel I could never cut ties with my friends and feel that if I do that, it only makes me look bitter. But I seriously am struggling with the fact that I just can't rid my life of my ex given she's so entwined in my social circle. Edit. Also, probably important to note that I have always felt kind of weak to talk about this with my friends. Maybe it's the stigma of being a male victim of abuse that's just made me embarrassed about it. I remember one time a stranger sort of smirking at me after she hit me while we were on the street, and feel like my friends would be a lot more empathetic if the roles were reversed. My apologies if the story seems a bit jumbled. Opie had a couple different posts and asked that I find a way to put the whole story together. I mean, OP's ex had a falling out with their main group of friends, thus he brought her into his own personal group is the only real thing I can think that might be hard to understand from the overall story. A lot of other things are way easier to wrap your mind around, mainly that OP introducing his ex to his own personal friends was apparently a horrible idea, because now he's become bitter about it, because the ex essentially won them over and got him alienated. OP, you done goofed, and it's obvious your friends aren't gonna do squat about it. Buyer's remorse kinda fits here in an odd way, though the abuse you suffered is horrifying, and you're right, if the situation were reversed and you'd been abusing her, you would be disavowed rather quickly, but this just isn't how the world works for now, unfortunately. Best you can do is find a way to live with it and move on in life, because things won't be changing for the better unless you start pursuing that. I wish you the best, champ. Now get out there and live your life. Don't let the past weigh you down. I hope y'all enjoyed Storytime with Safe today, and if you did, make sure to hit them like and sub buttons on your way out to make this your safe place, or stick around and watch a few more vids in the library. Whatever you choose, I'll see you in the next video.